Morning everyone. Lovely to see you all. My name is Julie. I work for CAP. I've been working for CAP for the last 10 years. I've celebrated 10 years at CAP. I know I don't look old enough to have worked for CAP for 10 years. Or maybe I look like I've been here for much longer. I don't know, you choose. I started as a dead coach like Janet, then a dead center manager in Sutton, where I live, so South London. And I joined the area manager team in June 2018, which was literally just after you opened your dead center. So I joined you, joined Andrew, Kerry, Mike on the journey that Gary joined us, Sarah, Janet, Adam. So it's been lovely. I've kind of made friends along the way. I've never been allowed to make it to a Sunday morning. But today is the day I've been let in to come and join you on the Sunday. A lot of my job is behind the scene. A lot of my job is meeting with the team that's focusing on mission for the church and thinking, how can we reach out to your neighbor? How can we reach out to the people who are just outside our door, who don't know Jesus yet, and maybe struggling on a practical level? You may be thinking, you're from Sutton, but you don't sound like you're from Sutton. Some of you may have guessed, I'm French. I have been in England for 16 years. Came to join my husband, who is English, but still got the French accent. I think it stays there forever, I've been told. It is such a privilege to be there. It is such a privilege to celebrate 8 years of the Dead Center and to have seen so many lives being transformed, so many people that have experienced the love of God, who have been prayed for, where Janet and the befrienders have been sitting on someone's sofa and say, would you like us to pray for you? Do you know about Jesus? We can help with your debt, but we also want you to know the life that Jesus can bring, a life of fullness and a life of hope. And today we are focusing on John 10:10, so kind of continuing your focus on John through CAP. It's like God's made it work. As we start, I just wanted us to start with listening to a phone call. So when someone in the community hear about CAP and want to get some support, they call our new inquiries team and ask, can I please book an appointment? And often this first phone call is the most difficult step. And I remember a client saying, the first phone call is the only thing you do by yourself. After that, there's always someone with you. But making that first phone call can be really, really hard to pick up the courage and to say, I need help. So we've got a recording, just a welfare alert that the call does mention suicide. So just be wary of that. So let's watch and listen to this first phone call.
Christians Against Poverty. Tanya speaking. How can I help?
I wanted to make an appointment to speak to somebody about my debt.
Okay. What's your first name and surname?
It's Paul. There's me and my wife, Heather.
Lovely.
I was aware of Christians Against Poverty. I picked up your leaflet when I went to give blood at the Baptist.
Thank you for that.
I am going through a mental health crisis at the minute.
Okay.
It's all sent me over the edge. I'm under watch for suicide watch at the minute. There was an attempt last Wednesday. I didn't go through with it.
Is there anything for Heather that we should be made aware of?
She just had an operation for cancer.
What I need you to do now is just give me an overview of what your debts are.
Okay. We were managed up until Christmas, really, and then we just started to have no money left in our account when direct debits were going out, so we haven't paid electric or gas since Christmas. I've got a attachment of earnings order, which takes a third of my wages away, and that happened on Wednesday, which tipped me over the edge. when I was
What's that
paid.
for?
Council tax.
Okay.
So yeah, there's council tax that we haven't been able to pay either.
Okay.
The rent is the one thing that we made sure that we paid, so that I wanted to make sure that we still had a roof over the head, and then anything else doesn't matter as long as we've got a roof over our heads.
So nearest available appointment is the 7th of June. So you booked in with a lovely lady called Helen. Right?
Yeah.
She will gather your paperwork. We're going to help you to budget, work your payments out for your creditors, go through the options available, and just advise on what we feel is best based on your personal circumstance. All right?
Right. Okay.
And that's it. All done.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. Thanks for your call today, Paul, and we look
All right.
forward to working with you. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
So this is one example of phone calls that are being made to our CAP head office, and then someone like Janet will then go and visit. So when Paul called Christian Against Poverty helpline, he was struggling simply to survive. He mentioned the struggle he was having with his mental health. And that just showed the reality of the clients we are working with. Sadly, those phone calls reflect what Janet see here locally. We've got about 16,000 people who calls into CAP every year. And I was looking, so in 2024, here in Maidenhead, you had 50 phone calls. So 15 people who say, we need help, please, could you come and visit us? And since the Dead Center opened 8 years ago, you've had over 300 households who were able to be supported by Andrew, by Gary, by Janet, because they had the courage to make this first phone call. Unfortunately, we know that those numbers are only a fraction of the people who are actually struggling. So many haven't yet taken the courage to make that phone call. And it's estimated that 1 in 5 people are living in poverty in Maidenhead in the UK today. 1 in 5. At CAP, we believe that together with the church, God's hand and feet, and I think Adam said, you mentioned the church being God's hand and feet, which is something I really believe that's what we are called to, is to really represent what we are doing for God. And all of us, with all our abilities, we can and we will see an end to UK poverty. And I really believe that. And that's why CAP mission statement is that we want to inspire and equip churches to help people out of debt and poverty and see them become followers of Jesus. And this is nothing new. Over the last 2,000 years, God has been at work transforming individual lives, entire societies, by calling his church to take action. Now more than ever, we believe that God wants to do powerful things through his church at this critical time. He has positioned us to bring hope and fullness of life to people across the UK. This message of hope and transformation plays a central part in the message of hope that we have in the Bible. And we see it in John 10:10. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come, Jesus says, I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. There is 2 parts to this verse, 2 key parts. On one side, we have the thief that steals, that kills, and ultimately brings destruction and separation. And on the other side, we've got our Savior. We've got Jesus, who brings life. And we want it to be a life of fullness. In the context of John 10, when Jesus referred to the thief, he's talking about religious leaders, people who took you away from having a personal relationship with Jesus and focusing on a man-made church and religion, taking us away from that fullness of knowing Jesus. In John 8, Jesus confronts the leaders, going far as calling them children of devil. Jesus was so keen to turn things around and bring life to his fullness and that relationship with God. God was always intended for us to have a life to the full. Doesn't matter if you're not yet a Christian, if you have been a Christian for a few days, few weeks, or for a very long time. This message of having a life to his fullness with Jesus is for all of us. The Bible starts and ends with goodness and fullness, with God reigning in the relationship with humanity. We see Adam and Eve from a lush and fruitful garden, living in relationship with one another. God had built his creation. And in Genesis, he said, God saw that it was good. God's creation was good. At the end of the Bible, we see a new heaven and a new earth, where the power of sin and death has been defeated. Pain and loss are no more. Humanity is restored and renewed, living in joy and fullness. But we find ourselves in that in-between, beautiful creation and finding Jesus at the end of our journey. We just need to turn the news to see that the world we are living is pretty sad and it's really difficult to see that reality. I find it really hard to see what's happening in other countries. And sometimes it feels really powerless. And how do we respond? How do we respond to the brokenness of the children in various parts in Ukraine, in the war, when we see the church leaders, not the church leaders, the world leaders, and we need the church leaders to respond. Early in the Bible, we see the fall. Humanity fails to trust God. Sin enters, and relationships that define human are broken, including our relationship with God. When broken relationships create injustice, exploitation, shame, condemnation, we become trapped, isolated, and powerless, often confused and ashamed, passing this down from generation to generation. And we get to the society we've got today where we see so much brokenness. Overseas, but the brokenness is here. In the UK, in Maidenhead, in our neighborhood. All around us, we see the impact of a fallen world. And poverty is just one manifestation. Although we believe it is an issue that absolutely can be overcome, we must accept that right now, poverty is real and often is hidden. We often don't see people who are struggling behind closed doors. And it's brutal. So many people are so isolated. We believe that poverty is a faith that is talked about in John 10:10. It robs us from the chance of a life, to live a life that is full, forcing us to put all apart so we can just survive. And when you can see your bank account getting smaller and smaller and getting less and less, it's really hard to live a life to the full and to fully engage into society when you cannot even pay for the bus fare to go to an event. Too many people are struggling in silence. CAP has commissioned a poll that says 4 in 10 UK adults have limited their gas and electric to cope with the rising cost of living. And I think that's a reality we can probably all see. I've had to limit how much gas and electric and looking at things because the salary hasn't changed, but the cost of living has increased. And some of us have got some saving and some buffer, but some people just haven't got that extra bit that help us, or that choice of saying, okay, well, I may not go for a coffee. If there is already no space for a coffee in your budget, there is no way to stretch it. We often hear about these things in the media, but poverty tax rate goes far beyond material deprivation. It does rob us of emotional, spiritual, and social connections. Poverty serves as a barrier to many forms of social interaction. And as we heard in the call with Paul, 1 in 2 of those who call CAP have considered or attempted suicide. 1 in 2. In a just and compassionate society, nobody should feel that there is no way out and that your only way to deal with your finances struggle is to end your life. This should never be an option. This should just not happen. We need to create a society that's caring. We need to create a church that's welcoming, where people belong, and they know that we can bring our brokenness. You may be struggling with your finances, I may be struggling with relationship, and all of us together, we bring that brokenness, we bring it to the cross. We need to stand together with what we carry and bringing to Jesus. So what does living life to the full actually looks like? We want to follow God's call. As God's people, we are called to bring hope and to share Jesus' message, like in John 10:10. Life to the full. And I think it would be good for us to pause for a minute and thinking, what does it look like for me to live a life to the full? What does it look like for me to put Jesus at the center so I'm living in his fullness? You may have been a Christian for many years, but you may have lost that reality of what Jesus does when we put him at the center of what we do. We are all there to respond to the call. God is in the business of restoration. This is rarely clearer than in the Old Testament, when God led his people out of slavery and oppression into the land of abundance and instruction, equipping them to live differently from a world of injustice. Unfortunately, those who God set free fail to do what he tells them to do. Despite these prophets calling them to change, they find themselves in exile. And then at the beginning of the New Testament, we see Jesus enter into the biblical story. In Luke 4, when Jesus starts his ministry, he comes back to the Old Testament. He goes back to Isaiah, and he makes it really clear of the why he came. In Isaiah 61, 1-2, which is one of the key passages at CAP, and since I've been on that journey with CAP, we often come back to Isaiah 61, 1-2, of the why. Why do we do CAP? Why do we gather on a Sunday and then go and see people in our community? It is to proclaim good news to the poor, to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, and release from darkness for the prisoner. Jesus goes on to spend his earthly ministry doing exactly that. You didn't see Jesus sitting and having a good time with people. No, he was he was having a good time. He was sometimes sitting, but he was with the marginalized. He was with the people who were struggling in society. He wasn't with who you would expect a king to be with. Jesus' mission is to break the power of sin for those with the least, for those who are lost. After his death on the cross, and we all know how much we need that death on the cross, how much we need Jesus' salvation through the cross. And his resurrection and his ascension, Jesus' group of followers are empowered by the Holy Spirit. And that's how the church started, a group of people coming together, God's hand and feet on earth, called to demonstrate his love and his justice to continue Jesus' ministry and proclaiming good news to the oppressed and the marginalized, and sharing that they can have a life that is of its fullness. And that's something we can have today through the Holy Spirit. A full life that Jesus offers is one of acceptance, purpose, and hope. And when we prayed earlier, the word hope came up. And if anyone needs to hear this today, the message of Jesus is a message of hope. And a reminder for you that there is hope. There is always hope through Jesus, no matter how difficult the situation you're going through. CAP has been committed to follow Jesus' call, to bring life in its fullness to those in financial crisis. And we partner with churches like River Church, and it's been such a pleasure to work with you over the last 8 years, behind the scene, thinking, okay, how can we reach out? How can we support people in our community? How can we bring the good news of Jesus, but also supporting practical help? Together, we tackle poverty. That's what we do. We tackle injustice. We tackle what we don't want to see. We tackle what is easy to ignore. But as a church, we've decided to look at the one who are living behind closed doors. And I do want to pause and celebrate. Since the Dead Center opened 8 years ago, so last week you had 66 clients who had become debt-free. And that was short of £1 million of debt being repaid or cleared. And I said to Janet, we are so short to 1 million. It's such a shame that for me coming, I can't say we've had £1 million of debt repaid or written off through the Debt Center. On Friday, Janet sent me a text saying, Julie, we've got another lady. It was a lady who had become debt-free, which is amazing. And she said, maybe that's taking us over the million. So I quickly went on my stat on my form. And as a church, you have helped clients to clear over £1 million of debt. £1 million. And we don't do it for the number. We definitely don't do it for the number. But it's such an achievement to pass over that £1 million. And 67 families, 67 households where Janet, Andrew, Gary, the befriender, the church, all of you have come together to support them every step of the way. And if any of you have gone on a visit, if any of you have been on that journey of becoming debt-free, you know that it's hard work. You've got to make sacrifice. There is days where it's just too much. So to get to that point of being debt-free is such a celebration of teamwork coming together. So massive thank you for coming together as a community to support people in becoming debt-free. You also, as a church, do the money coach. I don't think Andrew Green is there. I can't see you. Hi, Andrew. I didn't see you. You were right behind the person with the blue shirt. So Andrew and Liz and the team run the money course. I run the money course in my church. I mainly did the money course to start with because I needed it for my family. And I found the tool really, really helpful. Sorry? You use it as well, yes. Yeah, it's such a good tool, especially if you've got your life circumstances are changing. If you've got a family that starts, a family that goes, if you go into retirement, if there is a change in your circumstances, the money coaching really helps you to make a difference. I would recommend to anyone to do it. As Christian, it's so good to be good stewards of our finances, how big or small our finances are. We want to honor God through them, and the money course just helps us to do that. It also helps people who have been through a journey of becoming debt-free to stay debt-free and to learn new habits and a new way of managing money that helps to think ahead and not manage a crisis, but actually know what's happening moving forward. So I would love to celebrate everyone who is involved at CAP. So if you are a money coach or debt center coach, if you're a befriender, if you pray for CAP, if you have been involved in practical ways when Janet asked you to do something for CAP, would you stand so we could celebrate you? I know no one likes to be... Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you. Thank you. And a debt center can't run with just a debt coach. I mean, right now, we had two debt coaches. Now, Janet, for a time, is now managing the debt center while we are going to a new season where God is leading us. But it's a lot of work. You've got 36 clients that you're working with right now. When I look at the number, I'm thinking, how is Janet doing this? She's doing it because she's got you guys. She's doing it because befriender go with her on visit. She's doing it because she can say, please pray, and you're praying. She's doing it because you're coming together as a church. And the founder of the Salvation Army, William Booth, say, we cannot warm the heart of people with God's love if they have an empty stomach and cold feet. We cannot warm the hearts of people with God's love if they have an empty stomach and cold feet. And that is what we do with CAP. We make sure people have got food in their cupboard, have got clothes for themselves and their children, and we can bring the love of God through that. Not quite sure why I'm with my... Oh, yeah. I think I was supposed to be there. Janet recorded a few videos, some incredible messages from clients she has worked with, and she's still working with them. So let's watch not what I'm saying, but actually what amazing people Janet is working with are saying about the work of CAP and River Church.
So CAP has basically freed me. I felt like I was in a prison cell, couldn't open my windows, my doors. I felt like I was a prisoner in my own home, scared to go out in case the bailiffs come. They have given me back that sense of freedom and peace. It's brought me a lot of peace, which I'm so grateful for.
CAC has supported me by offering love and welcoming me to their church. They have helped me in attending and also have provided great training and guidance for my financial benefit. This has restored my faith and hope they can bring me peace and freedom in the future. CAP has also shared with me other resources and helped me feel more at home with donated items and furniture. Special thanks to Janet and Liz. Many blessings and love from Lily. How has CAP helped you to believe in God?
I love it, to believe in God. I mean, that is just incredible. And the card was made by Lily, wasn't it? And I love this card because she used a lot of CAP resources to put it together. So it's really special. When I've looked at it a few times, I'm like, oh, this is from this leaflet, and this is beautiful, really good work. Amazing testimonies, and I love their generosity in sharing a bit of their story, and sharing that the Dead Center has brought them freedom and peace. They were welcome in church. That restored their faith. I think that's beautiful. Sometimes through the hardship of life, we lose track of our faith. We lose track of who God is. And being able to have a Christian coming into your home, praying for you, just help to recenter in that. Despite the current economic climate, and I think we will all say it is not easy, there is so many challenges. But here at River Church, you're in the business of restoring life. You're in the business of focusing on people and bringing that hope that we talked about. And Janet and the team, often when you go on visit, you see things that are just not quite right. You see benefit system that doesn't work. You see the crack in the system. And at CAP, we have got a team that focuses on policy and public affairs to advocate on behalf of clients. So you can give a voice to people who often find themselves being without a voice. And I know Janet has worked with our evidence-based team to say, this is not working, this housing benefit, that doesn't make sense with universal credit. Like if we gather all those information, we can then take it to Parliament. And we've got Juliette, our CAP Policy Public Affairs Manager, who is, I was just writing, she's fed into a policy roundtable about universal credit with Sir Stephen Teams, and he's going to visit CAP. And I know some are in conversation with the MPs. So above and beyond, when you're going into people's home and you're noticing that things are just not working, they're not fair, the system is not working, we can make a difference as a charity, as a bigger movement coming together. So thank you, Janet, for highlighting some of those issues. I know a few times you've left things up to our team who can then take it further. Things change don't happen overnight, but drip feeding, being in this table, being at the Parliament helps to make things more bearable for people. So together, we can end poverty and bring life in all its fullness. And to finish, I want to show one more video. It's a spoken word called Follow the Call.
Can you see it? In this place we call home, do you see the signs? The standard of living in decline as yet another household falls below the poverty line. Do you see it? In this city that never stands still, so many at a standstill, anxious and unsure, as another brown envelope arrives through the door. Can you hear it? The murmurs and the groans, another propped up smile, another high interest loan, stolen joy, limited choices, stifled voices. Listen. Can you hear it? Crisis the cry is as the cost of living rises, mounting debt, inflation, growing isolation. Can you feel it? As rent increases and food prices soar, there is an outpour of need. People struggling to feed their families, to heat their homes. Do you feel it? The weight of that decision to sacrifice your next meal in order to pay your electricity bill. The hidden cost, the price you pay just to get through another day. What do you do when your income can't see you through the month? Unable to keep up, too many expenses, it's become too expensive. When your budget won't stretch to the basic essentials. When every transaction is apprehensive, inadequate wages, the problem's extensive. What can you do? Feeling like there's no escape, exploring even the darkest paths in the hope of finding a way out, needing more than just a handout, but a shoulder to lean on, eyes that see and ears that hear that you're still here. It's an epidemic. Cracked at the root, the problem's systemic. As the wealth divide grows ever wide, white-knuckled trying to hold on to both sides, trying to keep it together, something has to give. Tell me, is there a different way to live? Unsustainable budgets, expenses soaring, poverty arriving at new doors, your neighbour next door, your working poor, food bank queues like we've never seen before. How do we respond? Local authorities supported by charities, volunteers and staff rallying, united against what's financially challenging. Christians against poverty. Follow the call to see a life transformed and hope restored. A shift that brings a community healed. People drowning thrown a lifeline with an understanding of what's real. A compassion, a heart. A church not apart but united to bring these things that remain. Faith, hope, love. Christians against poverty. It's time to stand up and be counted. If not now, when? If not you, who?
We would love you to get involved. Janet, we love you to be involved. There is many ways you can get involved. First of all, if as I'm speaking, you're thinking, my budget is tight, and actually I could do with some debt help, please, don't struggle by yourself. Come and speak to Janet. She would love to support you in that journey. If you've got a bit of time or today's message has resonated with you and saying, I want to live a life to its fullness, and you're not quite sure how to do that, please speak to Adam, speak to anyone in the leadership team. We want you to have that life to its fullness with Jesus at the center. But if you have got some time and you would like to get involved with CAP, even the money coaching, the debt center, you can pray. There's a monthly prayer meeting that you can attend. There's always need for befriender, isn't it, Janet? Always need for more people to come along. And sometimes you may not be quite sure why. If you'd like, Janet, I'd love to be involved. I'm not quite sure how I could be involved. We can pray about it, and sometimes it could be something new that starts. So yeah, don't leave without speaking to Janet or someone from the CAP team.